Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. In this video we're going to be taking a first look at Telltale Dorian, who is another Telltale character coming to the game following up on Minerva. Now Dorian in the game was in episode 2 and episode 3 of season 4. In episode 2 she was just, I think, a background character. However, she did have quite a big part of the story in episode 3, and there were some determinant actions around how you dealt with her, and some of the things she could do basically to other characters were pretty brutal. In terms of her look, she looks a lot like the Dorian from the actual game itself, and she does have a special title which is Sins of Our Past, which is something new. I'm not sure what that's about. And when we look at her stats, however, she has got 2,617 attack, 2,629 defense, and 1,781 HP. That is with 30 veteran rings. Her trait is fast, and her role is considered support. Now, her support stats are not great in terms of, generally speaking, you would have it a bit more balanced. I think most people would be happy if her HP and her attack were just completely switched around. You don't really want attack stat for a 6-star in the S-class era. You generally want most 6-stars that are coming out to be very defensive built. Not really percentage damage, but unfortunately that's going to be the case here. We'll look across to her adrenaline rush. It's called Vengeful Hacking. It's 66 AP cost rush, so fairly fast. Deal 500% damage to one enemy. That enemy and up to 2 others get taunt, disarm, and minus 50% attack for 2 turns. So 2 parts of this rush, and the first half, unfortunately, like I said, is percentage damage. It's reasonable, 500%, but this is on a 6-star with very, very low stats on the attack stat, and like half of an S-class character's attack stat, unfortunately. And they're not going to get this rush off if you try and smash that attack stat up too high. The defense and HP are just going to be too low, and they're going to get destroyed in 1, maybe 2 attacks. However, the second part of this rush is really good because it does taunt, disarm, and minus 50% attack to 3 characters. It's to the character that you rush and 2 extras, so that's actually pretty nice. So it is a shame, obviously. I think if the first half was bleed or burn or something like this, or maybe infection to 1, I think this character would be a lot better. You'd have to mix up the stats a little bit more, but like I said, HP and attack could just easily be switched around. Now she is a 6-star, so that second half of that rush with the taunt would still hit her very hard. And even though there would be minus 50% attack on those characters, those are S-class characters, and they're still going to be having like 5,000 plus damage. We'll move on to the active skill. Is Recover Bleed, Trauma, and AP Gain. It has an initial cooldown of 2, cooldown of 3, number of uses 5. Now this is a very strange active skill. This character and up to 1 teammate recovers from Trauma and Bleed. This character gets 30 AP. It's not a percentage AP gain, it's a flat AP gain, and it would be enough to get the rush on another attack. But the issue here is the fact that it's recovering Trauma and Bleed. And basically, if you recover Trauma and Bleed, you're going to be taking 2 hits of damage if those 2 things are recovered. Because Trauma, obviously, when you recover something, you take damage. Like, for instance, Angel's Trauma is 3,000. So that character would take 3,000 damage from recovering Trauma. And if they were bleeding too, 3,000 damage for recovering Bleed. So that'd be 6,000 damage they take. I don't particularly like there being double barrels on Trauma Cleanse. Now, if it was just a Trauma Cleanse, it would be okay, but they'd still obviously take a big hit. But at least you could get rid of the Trauma first, then potentially use someone else to do a cleanse afterwards. Now the character gaining 30 AP is a flat number. Like I said, that is brand new, I'm pretty sure. There's never been a flat number increase. It's always been 100%, 50%, 60%, 35%, this sort of thing. Now exhaust obviously is an issue for this because for every 10% AP gained, that character would take the exhaust damage. So with Angel it's 500 exhaust, and this character would get around about 40% of their AP back if they did this. Generally 30 to 40% of their AP, so the character would take 1,500 to 2,000 damage. You obviously do have the control of when to do this because generally speaking 6-stars are going to be attack characters from now on. Having a 6-star on your defense team is just, leaving you open to get destroyed pretty much. Unless they're really, really tanky, and unfortunately Dorian is not that character. Which is a shame because if we look at her specialist skill, it works so well with the second half of her rush. It's Indomitable, which means she can gain 30% defense with every basic attack she takes. she had to have really high defensive stats for this to really be good, and unfortunately she doesn't. 1700 HP is just not there. You of course can raise this, but you're barely going to get to baselines on S-class characters with mods and percentage increase weapons. And like I said, it is a shame because with the Taunt, the first character would proc it once, 30% extra defense. The second character would proc it again, 60% extra. Then again, 90% extra. And then any other characters that were to attack, obviously huge amounts of defense boost. Now it still will work with Dorian, just not to the sort of levels you really require, especially if you're getting hit by S-class characters. But otherwise, I do like the combination of that specialist skill with the second part of that rush. Now she does have an attached weapon, and it is Dorian's defensive hatchet. It is exactly the same sort of weapon that she did have in Telltale's The Walking Dead video game, because she had a hatchet. It's pretty much as simple as that. It's got 30% defense, it's got 15% HP, which is the upgrade slot. Now the third slot is a special, which is brand new. Disarm when being attacked, a better chance to disarm an enemy for their next 2 turns. Now those taunted characters that would hit her could potentially be disarmed on this, but they are already disarmed on her rush, so I don't think that third slot is the best it could have been. Now, it could have gone with something basic like absolute defense, stun on defense, impair on defense, this sort of thing. But I think if you're going to go with something different like disarm, you could have gone for something else. I don't know. There could have been something very nice that you could have put in here. She's going to need something, a highlight. And I don't really think she's got that major highlight as a 6-star, and that weapon slot really could have been it. But unfortunately, I don't think disarm on defense is really that big a deal. So overall, I'm happy that Dorian is coming into the game. I do like it when Telltale characters are coming into the game, but I don't like the way she's built. I don't like the way any 6-stars built if they have too high attack stat or they have percentage damage rushes. It just, simply put, does not work for 6-star characters anymore if they want to have them make them do damage in any way or survive. And generally speaking, you need to do one of those 2 things. You need to be able to survive or do damage, and this character can't really do either. And it is definitely a shame because, like I said before, I do like the second half of that rush, and the combination with the specialist skill would work very well. But that's Telltale Dorian, Sins of Our Past. Do tell me what you think about this character. I am most likely going to do a 10 pull just because I did say I was going to be doing 10 pulls for every single Telltale character that came out. She's not my favourite Telltale character from Season 4, but I thought her character did her role pretty well. And like I said before, quite heavy influence on parts of the storyline. That is the end of my video though, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.